Hi there. So I'm up here in my attic, in my stained glass studio. And this is kind of what I do at the end of the day. My therapy, if you will. Right now I'm wrapping copper foil on the glass pieces that I cut last night. And if you're not familiar with what happens in the stained glass procedure, basically these pieces of glass get cut, and then in order to solder them together, they're wrapped in an adhesive copper foil, which you can see here. And this is not a stained glass tutorial. This is first part is just an FYI kind of thing. And this process goes back to our good friend Louis Comfort Tiffany, who developed the process of cutting glass and pounding it by hand, this copper that back in his day would then be coated on the side to go onto the glass with beeswax, which would adhere it to the foil or to the glass, and then be makes the glass solderable together. Sorry, I'm in right brain mode. So sometimes my thoughts may drift. But what I wanted to talk about, or I can't discuss if it's a one-way kind of thing, monologue, soliloquy, whatever that is. I've been thinking about a conversation I had with a friend tonight, who I'll call them they, so as not to give away who it is. We were talking about generational things and differences between generations and stuff, and this person is what I think would be termed a late Gen Xer, born in 86, I believe. And the gist of the conversation was that they wished that they had been born earlier, which is a common thing amongst what I think are commonly referred to as an old soul. And that means someone who's been here before, lived through the hardships, done the hardships, and maybe has an appreciation for things that are older in the timeline of what someone who's born in their time or their era might normally be drawn to. And they were saying that they wish they'd been born earlier, born before when they were. And I'd been called an old soul previously by people older than me when I was sort of coming up musically, in that my tastes and my attitudes were of a generation one or two previous to my own. I was born in 1970. So I'm smack dab in what I guess you would call Gen X. But their reason behind, or their explanation for wanting to be born previous to when they were, was that perhaps they would not be around here now. Not here in this town, but here in this era. And they wouldn't have to be experiencing the things that we've been experiencing and are experiencing and are about to live through, hopefully live through. Things like the return to what I would see as a move towards totalitarianism on behalf of our government. It's not a new topic. This is going to be a pain in the ass to foil. So whenever you get these tight little corners, you have to remember that you're trying to bend metal. This is still metal, it's just very, very thin. And so, given this person's comments about wishing that they'd been born earlier so that they weren't having to live through what we're living through, gave me a lot to think about on my drive home and while I was eating supper and right now. And I thought about sending them a personal message, but I think maybe maybe I'd record a little personal statement video about that, because I know that they are not the only one to have that feeling, because I've heard it before from other people, and I have thought about it myself. And it's not so much a desire to not be here as much as a desire to perhaps have been in your prime in a simpler time. And hey, I got it. Yay. So to be alive in a simpler time would mean a lot of things. It would mean less demands on your social flexibilities. It would mean a simpler kind of normal, meaning we don't have to be so much on guard as to how we address one another. That if we were to say, oh yeah, she really had great shoes, or, he really rocked that set of jeans, and have to be worried about whether we offended that person's sensibilities by calling them he or she. And like I said before, I'm referring to the person in the conversation as they, so as not to expose them in any way. But we're kindred spirits, I believe, and I don't think they would take any offense to me calling them they, because some people are just fucking smart enough to be over that. So, for those people wishing that they were in their prime in a simpler time, I don't think that that is any slight against anyone. To wish for greater ease, who among us has not wished for a more easeful time, a time with less social uncertainty, less political and social and financial instability. And the thing that came to my mind, and this is the optimist in me, that I must say I've had to pay very, very close attention to keeping in my foreground of late. Because the optimist in me has not had a very good time of late. So maybe when you're wishing that you were born earlier, or maybe feeling that you should have been born earlier into those other times that you were drawn to, or are drawn to, maybe it's not that we should have a drawing, or we shouldn't be drawn to, that's a tough statement to make, drawn to withdraw. We shouldn't be given to want to withdraw from the now. Because maybe we have a special gift, or an insight, or a perspective on how to deal with it that people who are genuinely of this time don't have. Maybe they haven't thought of it. Maybe they don't have the mental or psychic perspicacity to dig into it and objectify it. But people who I think know that they're an old soul have a really hard time dealing with the now. With the utterly ridiculous demands that are on us as far as our social conduct and the expectations unfairly placed upon us for how we will conduct ourselves and run our lives. Maybe, and I say maybe in sort of mental air quotes, let's strike the maybe and say you have some gift, something that this generation needs. And maybe it's some sort of social media platform. Maybe it's something as innocuous as the quiet example you can provide for your kids when you're sitting on the couch watching a movie about how to understand the times. Because there's a lot to try to understand. That's for damn sure. So rather than despair about a time in the past when that draws us, whether it's the music or the architecture or the fashion, there's something about some other time that draws you. Don't despair, because I think maybe you have a gift that you haven't tapped into yet. And whether you have any inkling as to what that gift might be, I think is completely irrelevant. But to know that you're here for a reason, even if we can't put that reason into words, you have something to offer, something to show to the world, something to demonstrate, whether it's an active demonstration or a passive active demonstration. There is a reason you're here. I don't know what that reason is. For me, I try to make beautiful things. And whether that beautiful thing captures your ear as music, or somehow captures the light coming through your window and casts some interesting hues upon your room or your deck or your car or whatever. That's my focus right now, is to try my hardest to create something beautiful. And some people will get it, and some people don't. But the one thing that I think I can take solace in is to know that I'm not alone in it. I have quite a few creative friends, artists of various disciplines, whether it's words, music, dance, whatever, doesn't matter. But some of us who feel displaced, well, I should say, well, maybe all, I can't speak for everyone. I think I can speak for myself. We have something to offer, and whatever that offering is, maybe we can't put it into words, maybe we haven't even figured out what it is yet. But so long as you know, or even have a feeling that maybe within you that there is a gift that underlies your sense of being displaced into this time. That there's somebody who wants to hear it. There's somebody who needs to hear what you have to say. There's somebody who wants to see what you do. There's somebody somewhere who needs you. And it's so weird when you think about, what do we need? If you were to sit down and make a list of a couple of things, I don't care. Maybe it's 30 things, maybe it's 3 of the things you need. And if you're really, really honest with yourself, I think, I believe, I sure as fuck hope that those things would be such things as family. Of whatever. Your dog is family, your plants are family. I'm not saying it has to be blood relatives. Your family, whatever your tribe is. You want some family. You want some ease. Ease to your movement. Ease to your thoughts, which means not being made to feel guilty or whatever about your thoughts. Not being told that your thoughts are wrong. Want and need what you want. But if your list of needs starts with like real needs, like let's go Roddenberry on this and assume that your needs for food, accommodation, and transportation are met. What else is left? I would just hope that things like the fancy new Yeti cooler or things like that would not be high atop your list. I saw this Yeti dog dish the other day. Fucking thing was $60. Your dog drinks out of a toilet and is happy to do so. Your dog will drink out of a puddle in the driveway. He or she places no demand on you for a $60 double insulated water dish. So get over it. Catharsis is wonderful. So I'm making some progress. This is a pain in the arse piece. You kind of have to start on the sharpest point of the bend. There. I'm going to be soldering in these high tempered glass globs. They are not the kind from the dollar store because they will explode if you heat them up. But yeah, so to get back to the original topic, there's a lot of us that feel displaced. And we're not demanding any retribution. We're not demanding anybody hold any specific flag up or wear a badge on their lapel that says that they support those of us who are temporally displaced. We just want a way to get by. And I'm pretty sure I'm not alone and saying that I don't have a really good answer as to what's going on. I have a feeling about what's going on, but I mean, as far as like with me. So be kind to people. And there's that saying going around now, because everyone's fighting a battle you know nothing about, which is true. But if you're feeling displaced, you're not alone. And if you have someone in your life that you can talk about that feeling with, whether it's a therapist or your life partner, I guess we can't call them husbands and wives anymore. They have to be parent 1 and parent 2. And if you don't have someone in your life that you can talk with about those things, let's start a conversation right here. Because I think if you've made it nigh on 27 minutes into my monologue here, I think we could be friends. Let's start a conversation right here and see what people think. And if somebody calls you crazy, just take heart in the fact that only the smallest of minds would call somebody crazy when they speak their thoughts. And I'll say that again. I think that only the smallest minds would lash out and call somebody crazy. Because really, we should want to understand one another more, better. Not more better, more, comma, better. And if you don't want to understand somebody's opinion or thoughts or motivations, maybe you're the crazy one. Maybe it's you that drank the Kool-Aid. Okay, so this is going to be a gigantic pain in the ass to foil. So I'm going to turn the camera off and conclude this monologue or whatever, because there's going to be some cursing coming up, wrapping this bit in foil. So this is my lady bear that I'm working on right now. The boy bear is done. Yeah, I'll post pictures of it on my soul art Facebook thing at some point. But to conclude, it might be, and this is my own words coming back at me, is hearing something that I probably needed to hear. When you feel most displaced, could be you are most accurately placed where you needed to be at that time. Sounds weird to say it, but who are we to say what the big plan is? We don't know. We're nothing. Dust in the wind. Yeah. Good night.